Hello, welcome to another episode of Sharpe Talk. We are so blessed and excited that you all have joined us this evening and looking forward to another phenomenal guest, Dad, one of your longtime friends. He is a Detroit son, a Michigan State University graduate, a former Detroit Piston, and now a color commentator for the Pistons for the last 35 years. It is our honor and our privilege to welcome Mr. Greg Kelser to Sharpe Talk. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Rebekah. How are you? Hey, Luis.
What's up, Kelser? Special Detroit's favorite son, MSU legend, winning the 1979 NCAA championship. You with Jay Vincent and Magic Johnson, color commentator now with the Detroit Pistons for over 30 years. What a wonderful opportunity and what a joy it is to have you on Sharpe Talk. Welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be a part of this with you and looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. So I just have to set the record straight. Before we begin, I did graduate from the University of Michigan. So there's a little bit of
that's the end of the show. Sorry. See you.
But it's all love. We're connected through a higher, power there. But I had to make it clear for all of the Wolverines that will be tuning in. It is all love. I have to say you're one of my favorite Spartans. So we've got that going for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Listen, the folks in Ann Arbor have always treated me very kindly when I go there. And I go there a lot. My broadcasting career has included a lot of college opportunities. So I've been to Chrysler Arena a great many times. I've even golfed on that beautiful golf course up there. So and as the old saying goes, many of my friends, in fact, one of your dad's closest friends and mine is a U of M grad. So
Tom
Sebron, there you go.
Yes, but we welcome you warmly there in Wolverine land. So, Greg, if you wouldn't mind, please just give our audience a little bit about where you grew up, where your passion for basketball was really shaped and formed at.
I grew up a little bit of everywhere because I was the son of military parents. My dad served in the United States Air Force for 20 years. I was born in Panama City, Florida, at Tyndall Air Force Base. And I probably spent the first 5 or 6 years of my life there before we really started traveling around the country and even abroad. But the experience was tremendous for me because it gave me exposure to a great many different people and cultures. I learned at a very young age to respect everybody, and that our similarities are far outnumber our differences, and that we all aspire for the same things. And so I'm glad that was instilled in me at a very young age. My parents also were very instrumental in teaching me that I could be anything I want and that I wasn't secondary to anybody. Those were very, very strong messages and lessons coming at a very early age that still shaped me to this day. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Massachusetts. I've lived in Michigan, obviously. I've lived in California. I've lived overseas in Okinawa, which is where I started playing organized basketball when I was like 10 years old. So my dad was a basketball player in the Air Force as well. So watching him and being around him and getting a chance to see that up close and personal, I wanted to be just like him. So that steered me in the direction of basketball. But I played all sports, but basketball was the one that I eventually was best at. And I was 13 or 14 years old. Now I was almost 15 when I moved to Michigan, and it was almost it coincided with my entering high school age, and that's how I ended up at Henry Ford High School. My dad was from Michigan originally, a graduate of Detroit Northern, and he always said that when his time in the military was up, that he wanted to move his family back to Michigan. So the timing was perfect. I got a chance to go to Henry Ford High School for 3 years consecutively without moving anymore. And that set me up eventually for the opportunity that was waiting at Michigan State University.
Wow, what a story. What a testimony that is. And of course, you went on to become an All-American. You went to MSU. And in 1979, you teamed up with the likes of Irving Magic Johnson, who we all know, another favored Michigan son. You guys won the state championship. You, along with Magic and Jay Vincent, And one of the things that you were known for, and I used to love it, the alley-oop from Magic to Special K. Tell us about what that experience was in that 1979 season.
Well, it was the second year that Urban and I had a chance to play together because I was 2 years older. But I met him when I was in high school as a 12th grader. He was a 10th grader from Lansing, Michigan. And when Michigan State was recruiting me in 1974-75, it was with the idea that eventually they would also successfully sign Urban and we get a chance to play together. And it was even better than that because we also signed Jay Vincent, as you talked about, and a lot of my other teammates, Ron Charles, Terry Donnelly, Mike Berkovich, and many of the other guys. We were a very close-knit team. And coming into the 1979 season, we nearly won the championship the year prior. So coming close, losing to Kentucky, and Kentucky winning the whole thing gave us all the confidence and motivation that if we worked hard and stayed healthy and had some luck, that we would get a chance to get back and maybe get to the top, get over the top the coming year. So that's what we took into that 1979 season. And it was a lot of fun. It had its ups and downs. We lost some games that we probably shouldn't have. Dug a little hole for ourselves middle way, but thankfully we were able to climb out of it. Rebekah, we lost a game in Ann Arbor that we never should have lost.
Okay, well, thank you for mentioning that on tonight.
Well, I'll also mention this: when they came to East Lansing, we took good care of them. We got our revenge. But by the time we got to the tournament, we were clearly playing some of the best basketball of our season and some of the best basketball in the entire country. And it was clear by that time that if we just stayed where we were and played to our potential, that we would have an excellent chance to win a national championship. And that's exactly what happened. And I think the fact that our opponent in Salt Lake City on that night, Indiana State University, led by the great Larry Bird, did not hurt things. They were an undefeated team. They were trying to finish it out. And it was a matchup of two of the very best players in the country in Larry and Urban. And the fact that we were able to come out on top, and then for Larry and Urban to go on and have the great rivalry that they had in the NBA, I think is what has given that game tremendous shelf life, and people still talk about it over 40 years later. And it still remains the largest TV audience ever to watch a college basketball game in history.
Wow, that was MSU and Indiana State. Was that the championship game?
That was the championship game in Salt Lake City.
And you guys put it on Indiana State, and I don't think Larry Bird ever got over that loss.
I wouldn't have gotten over it either if we lost. I get it. I understand. When you're a competitor, as you well know, Luis, from your years of football greatness in high school and in college at UCLA, and then on into the pros for a great many years. You play for the love of the game, but you play because you're a competitor and you want to win every time you go out there. And somehow your shortcomings, the games that you lose, those are the ones that stay with you more than the ones you win in many cases. So I get it that Larry's still suffering from that, because we would have been doing the exact same. And I've got my share of those type of losses, to be sure.
Yeah. Greg, I'd like for you to actually pontificate, though, because obviously you all are competitors. We all love to win. We were born to do that. But there is value and there are lessons that we can learn even in our losses. Can you talk about some of the things that you've been able to learn when you did not get that win?
Oh, absolutely. Because you don't get up, you don't give up, you don't quit. There were some losses on the basketball court that I sustained when I was playing at all levels, that at times made you question whether or not you even wanted to continue, because the losses were so damaging and hurtful to your mindset, to your thinking. And but you find ways to battle that, to fight it off, and to keep on pushing. And you do that through your teammates, because you don't want to let them down. You do it through your family, because they're watching you and pulling for you, and you don't want to disappoint them. You do it for your coaching staff. You do it for your school or your professional organization, whatever it might be. You try and not focus so much on yourself and look at the whole. But I can tell you that, you're right. All disappointments do somehow strengthen you. They help fortify you. They help strengthen your mettle to handle, whatever's coming, because life's full of disappointments, but certainly life's full of a lot of great positives and great achievements. It all balances out. I can tell you that in my broadcasting career, I had to call upon some of the things I learned as an athlete on many occasions, because it wasn't all smooth sailing once I moved into the broadcasting profession. There were some ups and downs with that. There were some opportunities that I felt I was abundantly qualified for, and I didn't get. And those disappointments sometimes can again make you feel like maybe I ought to choose a different path. But I was very fortunate to have great mentors, including starting with my parents, but then so many others who helped to keep me focused and talk me down off the ledge when I needed.
Thank you so much for just explaining that. I think that's a spectacular message for all people to take and apply it to their lives. So thank you very much for sharing from that place, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. When I played professional football, 13 years in the NFL, I was concerned about my family that were watching on television, my family, my immediate family in Phoenix, my family in Detroit, my coaches, Coach Joe Hoskins, Mel Farr, the people that mentored me, concerned about the ownership. They were paying me a very good salary, and how my performance reflected what it was or who it was that they invested in. So that really allows you to get over the hump. And plus the fact that we're from the public school league. We're from Detroit, right, where quitting just does not exist. Quitting is not an option. You may knock us down, but we're going to get up, dust ourselves up, learn from our mistakes, and we're going to come back at you stronger and harder.
Oh, absolutely. You hit it squarely on the head. You don't come through the Detroit Public School league as an athlete and not have those attributes as part of your makeup. And you mentioned your high school coach, Joe Hoskins, who I knew very well. Great deal of respect for Coach Hoskins. He left Southwestern, and eventually came over to my alma mater, Henry Ford, and turned that program totally around. And I remember when Coach Hoskins passed away, I attended his funeral, and I was most impressed with the scores of former athletes that came out to honor him and talk about how he impacted their lives and the differences that he made for them.
Absolutely. Rest in peace, Coach Joe Hoskins. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend his funeral, but he had a significant impact, being my mentor in high school and through college. And really the reason why I believed in myself as a young African-American kid out of the Detroit public school system, and was able to go and perform at the levels I did, not only athletically, but also academically at UCLA. He had always believe in yourself mentality, and he spread that through all of the young men that he had a chance to coach at Southwestern or Henry Ford High School.
Sure. There was a brotherhood like sense of feeling when guys from the Detroit Public School League would make whatever professional team or organization or league that they were aspiring to be a part of. So when you became a professional athlete, Luis, with the Cardinals, and we watched you with a great deal of pride and cheered for your success, and that's just how it was with people from the PSL. I don't know if it's like that today. I mean, I've been out of it a long time as far as high school athletics in Detroit are concerned, but I know back then, if a guy, you could have battled him on the field or on the court or wherever, but if he made the league, you then became a fan.
Absolutely. And still are, I was telling you before we went on air, how much I learned from you as a broadcaster, as a color commentator, you and George Blaha, and what great command of the English language you have, and when you articulate, you just make me so very proud. That's Gregory Kelser from Henry Ford High School. Listen to him articulate, and look how much he's teaching people about the game of basketball. Make us proud.
Well, the thing that I remember when I first decided I wanted to be a broadcaster, I met a gentleman whose name is Charlie Neal. You may even remember Charlie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Charlie was a great mentor for me. I met him my senior year at Michigan State, and we became friends. He was working in the industry as a local sports commentator for, I believe it was Channel 2 at the time. And he became a friend, and being around him, I got a chance to see what he did for a living. And it just seemed like it was so much fun. I mean, it had its challenges, and certainly it was, you know, he had to be good at it. He always had to prove himself, but that's just about any profession. But I really enjoyed what I watched him do. So I learned a great deal from him. And then when I decided that's where I wanted to go, he became truly a supporter, a mentor, taught me how to develop my style. And then I started paying close attention to others that were in the business. And there were a few who, when they broadcasted, it didn't matter the sport, where it was basketball, hockey, baseball, football, I would listen to the announcers to see if they were telling me something that I perhaps was not aware of, that I wasn't seeing for myself, but making it a lot clearer for me to understand the various nuances of each sport. And that helped me to decide that I wanted to be a teacher. If I ever get a chance to broadcast and be an analyst, I didn't want to just give you the obvious stuff. I wanted to give you the inside stuff that maybe you would never understand or recognize were it not for the analysts. So I give a lot of credit to Coach Hubie Brown, who coached a long time in the league and then became a broadcaster. And at 87 or 88 years old, he's still doing it to this day. I listened to him not too long ago on a broadcast, and he's still very good, sharp as ever, and still teaching. And that's sort of how I developed my style. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be entertaining too. So, I hope I'm achieving those things. And this is such a very competitive business. I've seen many people come and go, and over the years, I'm just very thankful and very fortunate that I have been able to maintain and sustain, 3.5 decades now. And I'd like to be able to continue. We all want to write our own ending. So, I'm praying for good health and that the opportunities continue.
Well, you do a great job, Greg. I love listening to the broadcast. And here's a teaching moment right now. It seems like the three-point shot is at a premium today in the NBA. The three-pointer and the drive and kick. What happened to the mid-range game, and what happened to the low post, the Charles Barkleys, the David Robinsons, the Hakeem Olajuwons? Why don't we see that so much anymore?
Well, analytics became a huge part of sports, and a huge part of coaching and strategizing to be most successful. And analytics says, quite simply, oversimplifying even maybe, that 3 is better than 2. So now the three-pointer is a part of the game, and probably here to stay as long as that line is there. I still like the mid-range game. I think what has happened is that the balance has been lost. It's overshifted to the 3. When I was playing, 3 was hardly used. You go back and you look at the game, the highest scoring game in NBA history occurred in 1983. I think it was between the Pistons and the Nuggets out in Denver. They played a triple overtime game. The final score was 186-184. If you go back and look at that game, there were probably 3 or 4 three-pointers attempted in the entire game.
Wow.
All of those were 2-pointers and free throws. I think 1 3-pointer was made in the game. Now, 2 teams will combine for easily 50 to anywhere as high as 80 3-point shots in a game. Right. So what has happened, there was a time, I think maybe about 20 years ago, where it was more balanced. You still had the mid-range game, which was good. The three-pointer, which was utilized but not overutilized, and posting up was still something that every team placed a premium on. Well, the post-up game is not so much valued anymore. The middle range game is totally gone, and what you're looking for now, you're looking for points in the key or in the lane, layups, or three-pointers. I did a game maybe last year where the Pistons and the team they were playing scored 250 points combined, and there was 1 mid-range basket in the whole game.
You're kidding.
Everything else was in the lane, and when I say in the lane, just inside that painted area, at the basket, dunk or a layup, or it was out beyond the arc. and that's where the game has gone. And do I like it? Not necessarily, but I understand it. I mean, it's evolved to this point. Will it be that way forever? I don't know. I hope not, because I think that the game basketball is such a beautiful game, and I fell in love with it because I enjoyed the artistry of it. I enjoyed the athleticism of it. I enjoyed guys being able to drive to the basket, swoop to the hoop. I love the post-up game, the back to the basket part of it, and I think that because the three-point line is there, it has taken away a lot of the movement. You have guys going down, spotting up on the three-point line and staying there while someone tries to penetrate and draw defenders, and then you kick it out. You get rotations on the outside, and you end up with a three-pointer in the corner or wherever. And every team plays the same. Now, I'm not knocking the game that has been so good to me, but I just know that it has so much more to offer that's not being taken advantage of right now.
Interesting. And of course, you were known for the alley-oop with Magic. And I too, like you, I miss the Adrian Dantleys and the Charles Barkleys and Hakeem Olajuwons.
Mm-hmm.
The low post game, because I mean, and that's one of the ways that we stayed in good physical condition in the football off seasons. We would play, four-court basketball in the football off seasons to stay in shape. And one thing that I've always appreciated, you talked about the artistry and the athleticism. I think basketball players are the greatest athletes on the planet. Talk about that. What do you think?
Well, I think to a large degree that's true because it's a game that's played in the air. It's a game that requires stamina because you got to get up and down the court constantly. I think you have to be in tremendous shape to play it because of the demands on your physical endurance. If you're playing football, and believe it or not, football is my favorite sport. I love professional football. When I grew up, I wanted to be a professional football player, but like I said, basketball was one out. But football, there's a little rest between plays. Baseball, I don't think you have to really be in too great a shape to play that. I think hockey has a physical demand on your stamina, and you certainly got to know how to skate. So, that brings about a different requirement. But basketball is one where athleticism is key if you got it. Now, it's not saying that someone who's non-athletic can't play, because you can if you're big and strong and can play near the hoop. Certainly back in the day, and there's still room for a few of those guys now, even with the evolution of the game. But I agree with you. Basketball does take a heavy toll on your ability to get up and down the court, to be able to run for long periods of time without getting tired. And for me, I grew up really marveling and admiring the forwards that played, guys like Elgin Baylor and Dr. J and Connie Hawkins, guys that could play in the air, play above the rim, guys that were supremely gifted athletically. And, those were the ones that I tried to pattern my game after.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know I'm loving all the basketball and sports talk, but I do want to pivot a little bit. And Greg, you have mentioned, the impact that your parents had on you as you were growing up. You talked about mentors that you've had throughout your life as well. Can you just share with our audience a little bit more about the relationships, the friendships, other family members that have been integral and played really essential roles in your success? Because we know that it does take a village. We were talking about that before we got on the air. So we'd love to know a little bit more about your village and how, what's the roles that they've played in shaping you into the man that you are today.
I had incredible grandparents who lived during a time when it certainly was not easy for Black people in America. Not saying it's easy now, but it was very much different when they were growing up in the 20s and 30s and 40s. And I was born in the late 50s. So I'm old enough to have seen some things that would still just shock and almost frighten you nowadays. But my grandparents were instrumental too in teaching me and helping me to understand that we will not let anything stand in our way. We'll stand up proud and ultimately, account for ourselves, be a man. Um, my grandparents were very key in that, but they instilled it in my parents, who then helped me to understand it even further. And my parents used to really emphasize the importance of education. Um, when I was at Michigan State, when I was in high school, period, throughout my scholastic days, it was always that first. Working hard in the classroom, and that was the only way I was allowed to play sports. If I was doing well in the classroom, there was no compromising that at all. So I understood what the priorities were, and I'm thankful for that, because as good as I was in basketball, as good as your dad was in football, neither one of us were going to do it forever. And so that's when education tends to really surface as uh, a backdrop or a safety net, and can hopefully take you on to other things, as is the case in most athletes. When our careers are over, we haven't even lived half of our lives. There's still so much to do and so much to achieve, and that education can be essential in that, if you were serious about it and went after that with the same determination as you perhaps did the sport you were playing.
Absolutely. And I think that perfectly underscores the fact that while you were at Michigan State, you were a two-time academic All-American. So clearly just that focus and that importance of education was really elevated through your time in college.
I have to tell you that, while those are accolades that I'm proud of, in all honesty, it was only because that's what my parents demanded. I'm no different than anybody else. I would have taken a shortcut if it had been allowed. I probably wouldn't have put the time in if some other alternative were presented. That's what you do a lot of times when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. But they really made it clear to me that if you do that, you'll pay a price. Yeah. And so I'm happy about that. But I mentioned my parents, but I had the same thing coming from my coaches. Practically every coach I had took an interest in me beyond the sport that I was playing for them. And my teachers were the same way. My high school teachers, they were all the same way. It's amazing as I look back on it, and I probably took it for granted back then. I don't know that all kids got the same support and the same extensions of what was being taught at home when they were out of the home that I received. There was never seemingly any drop off. They were all challenging me, and I didn't know it at the time. But what they were doing is that they were, the coaches and the teachers, and they were not relying or satisfied with doing the job that they were being paid to do. In other words, your math teacher is paid to teach you math. They don't have to do anything other than that. But the teachers back in those days, they seemed to understand the platform that they had and the opportunity they had to impact your life far beyond what they were being paid to do. And many of them took that very seriously. And I was a beneficiary of a lot of that.
That is tremendous. And Greg, you talk a lot about your family and how you were raised to do the right thing for the right reasons, and to have self-confidence, and to recognize that there is no person on this earth, whether it be the president of the United States, whether it be whoever it is, that's better than you are. And we all know that you have used your voice and your platform to talk about some of the social injustices that we've seen around the world, around these United States. Can you talk a little bit about that now, and how our viewers can be part of that work going forward?
Well, I know that I work in sports, and people usually tune into the things that I'm involved in, because they want to celebrate sport, and they want to be entertained and that sort of thing. And for many, it's an escape. from the realities of the day. But it's so hard. It is really, really hard to ignore some of the things that are going on around you, and put them aside, and put on your entertainer's hat and your smiley face, and go out and act like nothing's going on. That's very, very difficult. And I think you're seeing it with a lot of athletes today who are now more willing to speak out and say things that people would rather them not say. People are always telling athletes, stick to what you do and that sort of thing. Well, nobody sticks to what they do. No one does that. And no one should do that. If you see wrong, speak out against it, say something. And that's what I've chosen to do in the opportunities that I have. I think that it's everybody's responsibility to try to foster change for the good. And I'm just really thrilled when I see people of privilege, black or white, red or yellow, who are able to step out from within their own comfort and luxury and say, hey, what's going on right now is not right. What's happening to that person is not right. It may never affect you, but it still has to gnaw at you, and it still has to eat away at you when you see some of the things that are happening to other people. That's why when I look back at history, I can say thank you to people who were not people of color back in the 60s that got involved and risked their lives for civil rights. What was going on didn't affect them, but they recognized that something wasn't right. And I'm inspired when I see people doing the same things today, out marching for social justice, not their own, but for their fellow man.
Amen. I agree wholeheartedly with you. And I saw on the news today that both the president and vice president went to the officer, Brian Kupnick, who was laid in state. He was killed during the Capitol riot on January 6th. And that was good to see that our leaders, our current leaders, are honoring that poor man's legacy. And the fact, and this is my own personal feeling, and I'll share this, but I think that Capitol insurgency, really what it taught us is that Make America Great Again is about one class of people. When you see all of the white superiority or white nationalist paraphernalia, the hangman's noose and the Confederate flag being waved, I think that's what that insurgency was all about, one class of people.
Well, there's no question about that. And I agree with you, first of all, Officer Sicknick's passing, while tremendous in terms of the courage that he demonstrated and the sacrifice that he made for the oath that he was trying to uphold. I still think it was senseless. Shouldn't have happened. What went on the 6th of January shouldn't have happened. But this is the divide that we have in this country right now. Again, I'm optimistic because I feel that there are far more people who would be against that than would be for it. But unfortunately, when you have an uprising like that, it stands out so vividly in your mind, and you can't seem to do away with it. I think of it every single day. And when I think of it, I feel like that was an attack on me personally, on my family, and on people who look like me. I love this country. Let me make that perfectly clear. America is where I want to live, where I've always lived, and where I want to continue to live. But I know that America is not perfect. I know that there's a lot of work to be done. We have a long way to go, both to erase some of the scars and some of the degradation of years and centuries ago. And again, growing up in the military, that flag has a definite meaning, has always in my life. But even that right now is being challenged. And, I find myself sometimes really, really trying to fight to stay in the middle, because I know that flag means good. It's supposed to mean good. But when I see that thing flying on the back of pickup trucks speeding down the road with, all kinds of racist signage on the side and what have you. Now that flag takes on a whole different meaning. Yeah. But I do understand that, every country, every place has its extremists, and I have to keep reminding myself that that's not what it means, and that's not it for. These people are acting out, and they're doing it under the banner of that flag, but they're really the ones that are disrespecting this flag.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that in this season, well, I guess really last year, as things really begin to emerge after what we've known for centuries, as you mentioned, really begin to reach an inflection point. We saw that this whole concept of more than an athlete really arise, I feel. And sports are being used as a catalyst to bring transformation and to really highlight the stories of those voices that have been quieted for so long. And I think the media was pretty shocked initially that these athletes were willing to sacrifice their own pay, were willing to sacrifice some of their own comforts in order to finally bring awareness to the gross injustices that we have faced as a people group. So you were able to be a part of that, especially through your color commentating. Can you talk about what it was like for you to be in the midst of that and kind of seeing the pendulum swing last year and some of the things that you're continuing to do to just raise that awareness and to continue to educate the masses with the platform you have?
Well, I do have a strong platform, but I just want to say that, what I do and what I've done clearly pales in comparison to others that are out there fighting this fight every day. Yeah. I'm benefiting from that fight that has been fought every day for decades. But I do feel it's my responsibility, however, to bring whatever awareness that my position allows. And one of the things that I do with my summer basketball camps and such, we teach our children. We it's not just basketball. They're there to learn how basketball and academics can coexist. And we talk to them about things that are important, like choosing your role models and respecting your teachers, and doing everything you can to max out on your God-given gifts. We spend time in the classroom with them each and every day, in addition to what they do out on a basketball court. So, this in a small way, we feel, helps shape youngsters when they're at a very impressionable age. But as far as the people that are sacrificing their time and their energy and their livelihoods and all this right now for the better, to achieve a better life for people in this country, my hat continues to go off to them. I continue to support, in any way I can, what they're doing. You take a gentleman like Colin Kaepernick, who was making millions and millions and millions of dollars in football a few years ago, who just couldn't take it anymore. The police brutality that he was witnessing on a daily basis, just couldn't take it anymore. So he decided to bring awareness to it through his kneeling during the anthem. And we all know now he was right. Well, we knew he was right when he did it.
Right.
But America was a little slower in coming to it. But at least they do understand now. Mr. Floyd, George Floyd, who lost his life last year in Minneapolis to a racist police officer with a knee on his neck, as horrific as that was to watch, and to again be reminded of how marginalized Black people have been in this country. You almost find yourself being thankful that it was caught on video. You'll find yourself being glad that it was as disgraceful and as graphic as it was, as stomach turning as it was, because what it did, it got a lot of people to say, whoa, wait a minute here. That's not right. Yeah. And then to get involved and strengthen the movement. So, much like Emmett Till in 1955, his death and his brutal murder and death and the courageous act of his mother to expose his badly battered and beaten and disfigured body, how that still reverberates 65 years later. Perhaps the same thing will be the tragic passing of George Floyd.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we've all have our parts to play. I love that you mentioned what you're doing with your young folks who are in your basketball camp and just the different values that you are imparting to them and how you are showing them that it is more, just like your parents showed you, right? It's more than just what you do on the court. It's what you do in the classroom. It's what you do at home. It's who you are in your community. All of those things really comprise a whole functioning and positively impactful member of society. So I think that is wonderful that you really implement that with those who are at your basketball camp. Can you talk a little bit more about what that camp actually entails and your plans for it this year, in light of COVID and all that's happening with the pandemic?
Well, last year, because of COVID, was the first time, I think, in 27, 28 straight years that we didn't have a camp. We communicated a little bit with our youngsters, but my camps are for boys and girls ages 7 to 17, and we hold them at various locations. We usually have like 4 camps a summer. They're week long, and 2 are in the suburbs and 2 are in the city of Detroit. And we've gotten to a point now where we're able to sponsor a lot of the kids, especially with the camps in Detroit, where the kids can come to camp in the morning, and they get served breakfast, and then their day starts, and we go through our routines. We're on a schedule, on a tight schedule. We have volunteers who come in and run our mentoring exercises and teach life skills and things of that nature. And each boy and girl will spend an hour in the classroom each day. We give them a hot lunch at noontime, and then we resume. And we go to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we dismiss them. We're able to accomplish this because we're getting great support from like-minded people in the city who see what we're doing and say, hey, that's a good program. I want to be behind it. I want to support it. So each year now, we're probably sponsoring about 300 to 350 children to these camps. The ones in the suburbs are paid camps, but we still will have kids that are whose families can use the help financially, that they're still able to come and be a part of this. So it has given us, again, just a great opportunity to teach and to be present. I'm there every day. I take great pride in that. And I've got a great staff that has been with me a long time. And we're looking forward. We're hopeful that we will be able to resume this coming summer, but we haven't made any plans of yet because we know that due to the pandemic, it is very important, utmost important that we keep everybody safe. We debated on this all the way up until about a month out last year. We normally start in July, and we do 3 weeks in July and 1 week in August. And we deliberated all the way until we just realized that we can't do this. We won't be able to do this. And we're sort of in that same pattern right now. We're going to make sure that it's safe for everybody, including those of us who are, in our 60s out there trying to teach and be physically present. We want to keep everybody safe first and foremost.
I think it speaks volumes to your heart, what it is that you're doing, not only in the suburbs. I know that when I played pro ball, we seem to be sent by the community relations department more to the suburbs than we did to the inner city. And I used to always have a problem with that. And it sounds like, you're equal on both sides and really addressing those that are marginalized and disenfranchised in the inner cities. Those are the ones that really need to hear your message and have the experience I'm sure they have with your basketball camp.
Yeah, our camps in the city are probably 90 to 95% African-American boys and girls attending. Our camps in the suburbs are split, and it's beautiful. It's incredible. So we're able to show, again, the role of sports and how sports can be a bridge. And when you get out there on the basketball court, as I'm sure you understood and recognized when you played college and professional football, Luis, your teammate, it don't matter what color he is. If you miss your block, that running back's going to get tore up. So you go out there and you play for each other. And, there's a camaraderie that can sometimes grow from that you cherish forever. And that's the thing we talk about with our kids at our camps. We encourage them to get to know each other. And if you're there with a friend or if you're there with a brother or sister, move outside that box a little bit and get to know somebody that you don't know and talk to them and see what see what their lives are about. See, what their likes are, and that sort of thing. And you'd be surprised. Out of that will be, friendships can develop that will last a lifetime. I mean, you know yourself. You have people in your life that you met that you would not have met were it not for football back when you were a teenager, and you still are friends with those people to this day. And Rebekah, I bet you the same thing with you. People that you went to school with, or people that you met, when you were a young girl, they're your best friends now, and they will still be your friends 30, 40 years from now.
Yeah, no, great life skills that you're teaching the children, and just giving them that access and that push, to do something outside of their comfort zone. But like you mentioned, it will end up being rewarding to you, as it has been for me, Dad, for yourself, to have those really enriching relationships with people that don't look like me or think like me, or may not have even grown up where I grew up at, but yet we can come together and really enjoy just beautiful friendships. So that is a wonderful point.
Mm-hmm.
Diversity is a great strength.
Yeah, absolutely. Learning to embrace the differences of others. Oh, that's, again, a life skill, because as you go up and you grow through life, and when you go to work and you show up in these different places, you've got to learn how to work with people who are different than you,
You better.
You have to, especially as this country continues to diversify, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Shifting a bit. So you have to learn how to be accepting of those who look and think differently than you. Absolutely. So what I always ask, because it's important to me, and this is what, is an underpinning of this show, is really legacy and us honoring those who have come before us, while also blazing trails for those that are to come after. So Greg, you've talked a lot about respect, education, hard work, excellence. I want to know, what do you desire your legacy to be?
Well, for those who know me as a friend, I hope that my legacy would be that, that I was a good friend, and that I was someone that would be there, and someone who was kind with a thought, and eager and unselfish with an ear to listen. To the children, I've mentioned, the role models that I have, and I talked about some of my coaches, and I could name them by name. I could name the people who have helped me in my career by name. I can certainly mention the teachers that were instrumental, that stood out when I was growing up. Their legacies are very strong with me. Well, all I'm trying to do is be that same thing for somebody, when they talk about those that maybe had an impact in their lives, that may have said something, did something, demonstrated something, practiced something, that they can mention my name and smile and say, well, you know what, he had a part in that. I get a big kick out of, because I did my first basketball camp when I was 20 years old. So that was like 1978. And I've been doing my camps ever since. And, I was 20 years old. So there were like kids in that camp that were 15 years old, because I think that year we went from like 8 to 15. So for kids that were 14, 15, or even 13 years old in those very first camps, keep in mind, I'm only 7 years older than they were at the time.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual for someone to come up to me right now and say, hey, I used to go to your basketball camp, and there might be 52, 53 years old.
Wow.
Or 55 years old, saying that they went to my basketball camp. And then they'll tell me something that may have happened, or something that they heard, or something that I may have said that helped change their attitude, or their way of thinking, and maybe help them to be a better student, or whatever it might be. And I get a big kick out of that, because, and a lot of times it's not even about basketball, that ended at some point for everybody, but it's something else that they're able to recall, that they never forgot. And to me, that's the greatest legacy that you can have.
Amen.
Well, you've done an excellent job by depositing so many positive seeds here with me and my daughter. You and I, we've known each other, been friends for over 40 years. And the fact that you would take time from your busy schedule, you guys played last night in Utah, and you would take time and be as transparent as you've been with us. That's part of your legacy. And I know that you've sown some tremendous seeds in our lives and the lives of our listening audience. And I just want to thank you, Greg, for taking that time and being with us on this evening.
Well, again, it's my pleasure. It's an honor. And you guys keep doing the great work that you're doing to inspire people and to bring the best that you can for your listenership. And my hat goes off to the both of you too for understanding the importance of the roles that you play and embracing them in the manner in which you have. I wish you all the continued success, and please do all you can to stay safe. We need you.
Amen. Likewise, we say the same thing to you and your family, Greg. And until the next time, God bless you. Thank you once again. And we're excited to continue to see you out there color commentating and bringing awareness and just showing up as your authentic self. It truly is a blessing.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you, Luis. Good to be with you, Rebekah.
Thank you, bro. Keep doing what you're doing.
Take care.
For sure. All right.
All righty. Well, thank you so much to Greg. That was a lovely interview. I really feel edified and exhorted after that.
Edified and uplifted and encouraged. And yeah, he's got a wonderful, just so articulate.
Absolutely.
You know, and so inspiring with everything that he shares. He's definitely has a calling, very big calling on his life. I was thinking as we were listening, he for president and you for vice president.
We'll have to talk to him about that and see if he'd be open to it in 2024, right? But we're going to let Joe and Kamala do their thing for now. But again, we just want to thank all of you for viewing tonight. It has been an honor and a privilege, per usual, to be with you. We are excited to share that next week we will actually have our first woman guest, which I am clearly overzealous about, Miss Michelle Carter, who is an Olympic gold medalist in shot put. So she's going to come grace the Sharpe Talk stage. We're looking forward to another enriching conversation with her. And again, we are on Spotify and Apple and YouTube. So please take a look, subscribe, tell others about the work that we are doing here on Sharpe Talk. And thank you for your continued prayers.
And let me add to that introduction. Michelle Carter, Olympic gold medalist in 2016 in the shot put. And she is the daughter of a gentleman, a great football player. His name is Michael Carter. He was a nose guard with the San Francisco 49er, one of the greatest nose guards, one of the greater defensive players of our era, someone that many of us former players feel belongs in the Hall of Fame. And so that is Michael Carter's seed, Michael Carter from the San Francisco 49er, his daughter. So we are excited to hear what she has to say as she shares her heart with us on next week. Please join us.
Please join us. Again, thank you all so much. Like Greg said, please do your best to stay safe because you are needed here in the earth for such a time as this. So until next time, may the Lord bless you, keep you, be gracious to you. May he lift up the light of his countenance unto you and give you and your family shalom. Take care. And thank you so much, Cousin Amelia. I see all of your comments. We appreciate your support. And Melvin, he said that he played with you all in high school, JV in the city of Detroit. So big ups to Detroit.
What up, Melvin?
Yes, David Thornton said that's why he loves Southwestern. The teachers and the coaches actually cared. Amen. It's very evident to see that. So we just want to shout out our viewers.
Shane, I see Shane Bradford commented. What did Shane have to say?
He had no idea. How cool is that? He was responding to one of Greg's comments. But yes, Bruce is sending hearts as well. So we love our audience. We love when we get a chance to interact with your comments. Truly, your support does mean the world to us. So if you ever have any other questions or ideas or people that you would even like to see on Sharpe Talk, please, you know where to find us on Facebook, especially my dad. He's very active on there. So again, thank you all so much. We love you, and we will see you next time on Sharpe Talk. God bless.
Peace.